Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United and conversation. Hope you're all doing very well. We're going to be starting off talking about Rangnick's preference for Erik ten Hag. I think some people are starting to forget this. I think people are thinking it's all about what the fans want and the club wants something different. But remember, there are indications that people within that football club do want Erik ten Hag. We'll be talking about that and what comes next. Also, ridiculous Bruno Fernandes slander. I mean, I know it's on Talk Sport and it's Simon Jordan, but it needs calling out. I mean, he's basically said that he's not a leader, he doesn't work hard enough, and he's a luxury player. He may not be having the best season, but there's no way he's a luxury player, and there's no way he doesn't work hard enough. Also, be talking about Rudiger and a few other things around transfers. But how are we all doing this afternoon, and what next for Manchester United? And I just want to give a shout out to Robert McCormack. You might know him from Super Chats and previous shows, etc. And he sent me a message today, and I thought, you know what? It's completely opposed to where I stand, but it's all about opinion. And he says, do you think fan opinion should really matter? Would you listen to loads of people you don't know on how to do your job if you disagreed with them? I know I wouldn't. And in recent times, they listened to the fans demanding Solskjaer got the job. They demanded we hurry up and sign Wan-Bissaka. They said if we don't get Maguire, we're a joke of a club. Bruno and Sancho were demands too. Both are debatable. Also remember that the bookies make millions every single year purely through fan football knowledge, whilst 100% of football fans think they know football and the majority talk a good game. The reality is it's less than 5%. He says, by the way, if we get Ten Hag, I will support him because you should, and I hope he is the next Pep. I mean, look, Robert, first of all, completely opposite to what I think, and that's why I'm telling you that. That's why I want to discuss the fact that it's not just the fans who want Erik ten Hag. There is a man who's been brought into that football club as an interim manager to then become a consultant for the next 2 or 3 years, who prefers Ten Hag over Pochettino, and that must not get forgotten. Ultimately, the only people I'm aware of that want Pochettino are a few players, and I know that there's a few players really vocally pushing for Pochettino. I'm not going to name them because they'll just get a load of abuse, and that's not fair. Obviously, there's ex-players like Gary Neville who's publicly said that, and there are people within the board who want Pochettino, some of which apparently left. Ed Woodward apparently left. I don't know what his role is at the club, but he wanted Pochettino before he left and may still be advising them on that. And there was rumours that he would be advised. There is then a massive swathe of fans that want Erik ten Hag, and I would still disagree with Robert and say that I trust all your opinion over Man United's board for the reasons I said this morning. I just don't think they're trustworthy based on the decisions that they've made over the last 9 years. And you've got, I repeat, a man who was brought in to consult on this football club, who is saying Erik ten Hag would be the better option for Manchester United going forward. So ultimately, it's not just the fans that would be ignored on this. It would also be the man that you brought in November to advise you on how to rebuild a football club, like he has rebuilt other football clubs. Basically, we may as well have not got Ralf Rangnick if we're not going to get Erik ten Hag, because that's his preference in relation to the managerial situation. So for me, I've always been a firm believer that we wrote 6 months of the season off in November, and if they go with Pochettino, this is not speculation. This is pure facts. If they go with Mauricio Pochettino over Erik ten Hag, the last 5 months under Ralf Rangnick, we may as well have just took a sabbatical from football and gone, United are shit, they're going to blow top 4, they're not going to win any trophies, and everything that Ralf does is going to be ignored. So we may as well just not have watched Man United from November till May and said it starts again with Pochettino in the summer. It's a complete and utter waste of time the last 5 months if you don't listen to what Ralf Rangnick has said. And he is a preferer of Erik ten Hag, and you can see why, because it fits. Yeah, I said this when we got Ralf Rangnick back in December. I said, looking at it, I think it probably will be Erik ten Hag. You can probably find the clip where I said it, because I just said I don't think Pochettino will want to work with Rangnick, and I don't think Rangnick would prefer Pochettino over someone like Erik ten Hag. How do you get advice from someone who failed at the job for a decade, says Stephen Ross. Exactly. And also, can I just say as well, very quickly, because this show is a bit freestyle here, I'm just picking off a few conversations to discuss on this show. Somebody was saying earlier about Manchester United, and I always get his name wrong. Manchester United interviewing Lopetegui. I mean, this is a guy who went to Real Madrid and got sacked in record time. Why would you interview somebody who has had a big job and literally embarrassed themselves? Like Real Madrid, surely we want to compare ourselves to Real Madrid. He went to Real Madrid and it went to shit very quickly. I mean, this is absolutely... I don't mind interviewing people, but there are some people that you just don't interview. And I don't know why his name keeps getting mentioned. How do you get... we've done that one from Stephen. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that. But look, I did want to just bang that on because what next for Manchester United is obviously really important. And I don't think you can go by the bookies, by the way. I know a lot of people are saying that Ten Hag is the favourite with the bookies. I personally don't believe you can go with that. I don't know what you think. And I think what's next for Manchester United is... having calmed down from the morning show a little bit, I think we will find out by the middle of next week who our manager's going to be. Because if we are in the same position we are next Wednesday, where we're still sat here going, who's the manager going to be? I think it's very obvious that it's not going to be Ten Hag and it's going to be Pochettino, because there is no reason not to appoint Erik Ten Hag. Ajax have given us permission to talk to him. We've spoken to him. He's done a good interview. We all know what he's about. He's got a CV. You either want him or you don't. If they're still stalling by next Wednesday, it's very clear to me why they're stalling. And you wander into that territory of they're going to ignore the fans, they're going to ignore Ralf Rangnick, and they're going to stick with people who they've been making bad decisions for a very long time. And I would hold that thought. If you ignore the fans and you ignore Ralf Rangnick and you ignore those people within the club who want Erik Ten Hag, then you're basically going with the people in the club who've been the problem for the last 9 years. The same ex-players who've been making bad public calls and takes for 9 years. The same board that have been making bad calls for 9 years. And the same players that are overpowered in that football club who've been stopping us for 9 years. So, and I know not all those people have been there for 9 years, but there is a running theme of bad decisions. And I personally, and maybe it's a little bit unfair, but I personally think Pochettino is very much a decision of the last 9 years, and Erik Ten Hag is very much a decision of a new step. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's fair? Do you think that is fair of me to say that Pochettino to me feels like it's a decision of the last 9 years with the people who are backing him as well, and Erik Ten Hag is something new. I wouldn't be surprised if in a different world 80% would want Pochettino and 20% would want Ten Hag. It's not because of Pochettino, it's just because of what he represents. And Ralf Rangnick represents that new step as well. Rumours going round that the board want Ten Hag and the football structure want Pochettino. There is clear indication in the last 2 days that they want to get Poch, says Dan. Well, remember, Ralf Rangnick is part of the football structure as well. Arnold to board members, we need to make this a quick decision. Board members, sorry I'm on holiday. Arnold, back to them. No problem, take your time, says Michael Fetty. Well, remember that Ralf Rangnick has been on holiday a little bit recently as well. I mean, I really do want to get your thoughts on that, because ultimately, we've just read Robert McCormack's thing then. We've done a video on Pochettino's tactics this week, which I think were very respectful. And I really do feel like Pochettino is a little bit like Mourinho, he's a little bit like Van Gaal. I think they've had better days. It's certain people within that football club thinking they know better. It's certain ex-players thinking they know better. I think Pochettino is a decision we've already made, and it's failed. Whereas I think Erik Ten Hag is completely. If United have been going that way, I think Erik Ten Hag's that way. And I think that's why so many fans are around it and want it. That's why Ralf Rangnick wants it. It's why so many fans wanted Conte. Remember when Conte was mentioned last October or November? I never really wanted Conte, but where United were at the end under Ollie, I was like, we need a hard reset. We do. It's like we don't need to. We need a real reset, and that's why I was on board with Conte. And I felt it in the fan base over this season that people have gone from, look, hopefully Solskjaer can sort this out, to very quickly realising he's just not the man for the job. And then looking back over the 9 years and going, what a waste of time. Over £1 billion spent in transfers, 4 managers, and we're back worse than we've ever been. What we need to do now is something brave. We need to go down a road that we've not gone down before, that makes sense, but is risky, but is completely different. And that's why I think people are moving towards Erik Ten Hag. For the first time, it really annoys me when I read things about you, the fans, and they say, oh, people just want Erik Ten Hag because he's the what's the word for it? He's almost like the is the cool choice. It's the in crowd going for Ten Hag. It's the sexy choice, whatever. And I'm like, you really are taking the piss out of football fans. The knowledge in football fans that I see, not just amongst the United fan base, but the wider football fan base as well, they know so much more than a lot of these journalists do. Because a lot of these journalists, they're my age or older. And I know when I was growing up at the age of some of you who are in your late teens, early 20s, the access you have to world football, statistics, results, players is probably 50-fold to what I had when I was your age. So you have more knowledge than a lot of these people who put you down and say, oh, it's just the internet people. Ten Hag's just the internet choice. Someone's seen a tweet and they've gone with it. I think it's really disrespectful because the amount of you, and like I say, people on social media who know about players all over the world, Ten Hag's not just that's a sexy choice, let's go for that. I think people are going for it because they genuinely have looked at him and where United are and they think that's the right that's the right direction. Whereas Pochettino is like, wow, yeah, he is everyone. You know what you're getting with Pochettino, and it's probably fourth place. With Erik Ten Hag, we should be fourth place, and people forget this as well. Man United should be minimum third place every season, and that's not a good season. Pochettino, for me, delivers that, and that's all. Erik Ten Hag, I think, will deliver that, but he could take us beyond that, and surely that's got to be the aim. It is United stand against Barcelona today. I'm nervous about that, Nirvana. Twitch links in the video description if you're interested in that. People wanting Poch forget he lost winning the title when all top teams were in transition. They were top and bottled it to Leicester, says Mike Thomas. Look, Pochettino's a good manager. I just don't think he's the right manager for Manchester United. I really don't agree with the abuse or that sort of thing. Or if anybody wants Pochettino, they should not be abused. But I don't know, rightly or wrongly, I feel that Pochettino is something we've been doing for 9 years, and Erik Ten Hag is something really exciting and different. And he is a bit of a mystery box, David, but it's a bit like what Klopp did at Liverpool, what Liverpool did with Klopp. And obviously he was doing it in the Bundesliga, and Ajax is not in the Bundesliga, but I do feel that Klopp, I think Liverpool would go with Ten Hag, and look at what happened. I think Man City would go with Ten Hag, and look at what's happened. And I think Chelsea would probably go with Ten Hag as well. I don't think Chelsea, Liverpool or Man City would go with Poch, but there we go. We will see what happens next, but just remember, it's not just the fans who are choosing this. Ralf Rangnick would prefer Erik Ten Hag. There are people within the club who would prefer Ten Hag. Unfortunately, there are some very high-profile players that are pushing for Pochettino who shouldn't be being listened to at all, but the club have created that vacuum of opening the door to senior players and letting them bypass managers. As I said, there is no way a Roy Keane or a Gary Neville was ever going past Sir Alex Ferguson to speak to the board about who should be the next manager. That's just not how Man United should be run. But unfortunately, we've become this brand where they do listen to players and they shouldn't be doing it. 10 bag will be the best option, says Bath. I'm 20 years old and it baffles me how some people genuinely want to choose Ten Hag over Pochettino, says Sal. Well, give us a reason beyond that. You can't just say that. Mancini is not leaving the Italian job anytime soon, says Jaheem. I wouldn't take Mancini anyway. Nowadays, any manager is a mystery box, says Thomas. I completely agree with you. And is it true regarding the club is open to sell Maguire this summer, says Shijo. We're not selling Harry Maguire. The club don't want to sell Harry Maguire. And also, Harry Maguire doesn't want to leave Manchester United, and most importantly, nobody will buy Harry Maguire, so he's not going to go anywhere. His future is intriguing, but to be honest, I don't really care about it. It's a low priority problem at the moment because what we should be focusing on is getting the new manager in and sorting out our signings for the summer. They're the ones. I think when you've got problems, whether it's going to work or you've got DIY to do, always list your problems and focus on the urgent ones first. And Harry Maguire is not an urgent problem. He may be a problem, but he's not an urgent problem. Make sure you smash a like. Can I just give a shout out as well, just before I move on to the next bit? Can I just give a shout out? I've dropped the link in the video description. Goldbridge Cooks is back. Goldbridge Cooking with Goldbridge, whatever you want to call it, is back. I've not done it since Christmas. New episode. The link's in the video description. Please, please, please give it a click and give it a watch. It's only 20 minutes long. The dish is elite. This ain't no spag bol or Sunday dinner that people might not want to watch. This is chicken parmo, which actually originates from Teesside and is sold in fish and chip shops up there. It's bloody lovely. I'd never heard about it until a week ago. It's very easy to make and it's absolutely gorgeous. It could be a weekend treat for you. So make sure you check it out. Links in the video description for that. There's some funny little jokes and football references in there as well. So please give it a watch. And if you like it, subscribe to that channel. But please give it a watch. I want to talk about Bruno next. Three Ajax players you would like to come with Ten Hag, says Fick. Very quickly, Anthony, Gravenberch, and probably their right back. I forget what his name is. Begins with an M. I quite like him as well. So they'd probably be my three. I'm sure lots of people have different ones. Hamza says it was elite. Chicken parmo, Mark. Thank you very much. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about, and I think it's really important that we talk about this, is Bruno Fernandes. We don't talk about Bruno. Well, we do talk about Bruno, and I want to talk about Bruno because I saw something today that was sent to me as a clip from Simon Jordan, who's on TalkSport. And basically he said, Bruno Fernandes, part of the problem at United, he's not a leader, he doesn't work hard enough, and he's a luxury player. On his day, he's brilliant, but he's not right for Manchester United. And I thought, hold on a minute, Simon. And maybe he has said things about Rashford, and maybe he has said things about Maguire, and maybe he has said things about Luke Shaw, and maybe he has said things about Scott McTominay and Fred. But hold up a minute. This is the whole De Gea thing again. We have a problem in this country with some of our fans and some of the media where they attack our elite players who are not playing particularly well, some of them. Bruno's not having his best season. Ronaldo's not had his best season. De Gea actually has had his best season. But they get pulled out like they're the problem. Bruno Fernandes, that clip today was wrong, but also it's wrong that yet another foreign player, who is also one of our best players, is being highlighted as a problem. Whoa! That means stop a horse, but it also means, whoa, stop talking nonsense. The reality is, Bruno Fernandes has created more chances than any Premier League player in the last 2 years. Bruno Fernandes, despite having a bad attitude this season, which I'll put my hands up to, he has still contributed goals and assists this season. Bruno Fernandes is still factually one of our best players. To be calling him out ahead of Maguire, Rashford, McTominay, Fred, Luke Shaw, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and a few others this season is quite frankly disgusting. Maybe watch the player before you start spouting lies about him, because he is very hard-working. He's one of the most hard-working players we've got. The problem is he's got no positional discipline. That's his problem. It's not his work rate. His work rate's ridiculous. He'll be right wing, left wing, right back, up front. He never stops running. The problem is he's got no positional discipline. He's running into areas he shouldn't run. So he's actually the opposite of not running around enough. The problem is he's running around too much. Is he a leader? Look, I think Bruno Fernandes is a leader, but I think ultimately as well, his petulance has cost him that ability to lead this season, because he's acting like a spoiled brat most of the time. Let's be honest with you. And what was the other thing? He's a luxury player. I don't think he's a luxury player at all. How can a luxury player be somebody who creates more chances than anybody else in the Premier League in the last 2 years? That's not a luxury player. He's the most creative player in the Premier League in the last 2 years. I don't think he's having a good season, and I don't like his attitude. But how can a luxury player be a creator? A creator is not a luxury player. A luxury player to me is a goal scorer or a dribbler. A creator is not a luxury player because they're creating for others. That's not a luxury, it's a necessity. So, look, Bruno Fernandes this season, his attitude has not been right. His possessional discipline has not been right. But let's not pretend he's a problem. Let's not pretend Bruno Fernandes is the problem at Manchester United. Let's not pretend that he doesn't work hard enough and that he's not a leader. That's just a nonsense. An absolute nonsense. And I will call it out, because yes, Bruno's one of my favourite players, but I've also called out I'm not happy with him at the moment. I don't like his attitude. I think he needs to rein that in. I'm fully aware that his positional discipline is poor this season. It is really poor, but join the club. But I'm not having he doesn't work hard enough. And I'm not having Bruno Fernandes shouted out like he's the problem at United and we don't need him, when you've got 7 players that are worse than him who don't seem to get called out that much apart from the fans. So, but I'm not playing a blame game. I just think Bruno it's unfair in relation to Bruno, really. The media are just droids, says Bath. What bothers me about Poch is we seem to be in reverse tug of war. PSG wanting for us to pay for him before they sack him, and we're waiting for PSG to sack him so we can have him for free, says Glenn. It's banter. If that's the situation, Glenn, and you might have read it right, it's pure banter. It's pure Manchester United of the last 9 years. We are waiting to get a manager who will have been sacked twice by the time we appoint him. That's what we're waiting to do, because it's cheaper than paying PSG before they sack him. There's a big hint when you go for a manager that's been sacked from their last 2 jobs. It doesn't matter whether they're coming to work with you to build fences, or they're cutting your grass, or they're going to manage Man United. If you've been sacked from your last 2 jobs, there's a bit of a hint there, isn't there? But it does feel like that. I think I'm very fearful that the delay I believe there's 2 things happening with United's manager, and I suppose this fits in with the what next on the thumbnail. There's 2 things I think is happening with Man United. One of 2 things. Option 1. Man United are going to delay this for weeks to get Pochettino, and they're trying to work a deal out, which is just pure stupidity in my opinion, but that's my opinion, and if they think different, that's their funeral. I think it will be a bad decision. So they're either going to wait weeks to get this Pochettino thing sorted out, or option 2 is we will have Erik ten Hag announced very, very soon. I'm hoping it's going to be option 2. Bruno in, Tadic rolls, crossing direct shots, says Rahul. I mean, look, I thought Bruno played quite well for Portugal last night, considering his form this season's not been great. I thought Ronaldo played quite well for Portugal last night, considering his form's not been that great as team players. But Bruno's not at his best. He's not at his best, and we need to get him back to his best. But one of the things we need is positional discipline from him. And can I just say this as well? Do not blame Ralf Rangnick for Bruno's positional discipline. This is a manager that came in November with very little power from the board to buy and recruit and sell. He's also got a bunch of players that have had their arse in their hands since November, because the season's basically over and they've lost Ollie and they just don't know who to blame. Bad attitude running through the whole club. Impossible for a high press rock and roll manager, in his own words, to come in halfway through the season and take a pragmatic park the bus side counter-attacking and turn it into a high pressing forward passing team. You can't do that in the middle of the season. You just can't. I mean, it's like Pep Guardiola taking over, I don't know, who's a counter-attacking team that you can think of. It's like Pep Guardiola taking over Atletico Madrid halfway through the season. You're not going to change that mentality. You need a summer. You do. Bruno Fernandes will benefit massively from us having, hopefully, Ten Hag in the summer with a full summer to work with him, because we haven't developed players for 3 years under Ollie. We haven't developed intricate tactics under Ollie for the last 3 years, and we've played pretty basic football. They're going to play a very different brand of football next season if we get Ten Hag. They're going to be coached in a very different way. It's going to be intense. Everyone's going to know their job. The thing I love about Erik Ten Hag's Ajax side is, and we've done the video on it, is the way that everybody knows their job and you work as a team. Bruno will not work in Erik Ten Hag's system if he's wandering past his CDMs to get the ball, or he's going past his striker. Positional discipline will be very important, and we'll see that with a lot of our players. I don't even think our board is stupid enough to appoint Poch. Ten Hag buys them happy fans for a few years, easy win for them. Well, cynically, Ricardo, I do agree with you that the tactical win for Manchester United is to appoint Ten Hag. It will instantly destroy any rumblings or thoughts of protests. It will, because the fan base will be like, we've got a manager that we're excited about, let's see what happens, which I almost agree with, to be honest. There'll be a lot of buzz around the team. Whoever they buy in the summer, you're going to get lots of interaction, lots of shirt sales. I think that they can try and ride it out with Pochettino, but the easy win to get everybody happy again is Erik ten Hag. And I'd be stunned if they don't do it, but you just don't. Do you trust them? I don't trust them. That's the problem. Krish, welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. Don't forget as well, I've left the QR code on here. You can still enter our merchandise competition. We've got a voucher for £50 to spend on our Shopify United Stand website. I've tried it earlier. You just literally hold your camera up to that QR code and it will take you straight to the place you need to be. Just give us a follow on Instagram, like the merchandise post that we've done, and then just type merch bridge into the chat. First it was Paul Pogba's fault, now it's Bruno's fault. Watch they say it's Varane's fault next, says Jimmy Kelly. Yeah, well look, I would say that I've said it loads of times, and I'm English. And I'm proud to be English, but I've noticed it for years and years and years. The way some players get ignored and others get called out is it's rather irritating. One other player I just wanted to mention, another story coming out today that Ralf Rangnick, we've spoken about Ralf Rangnick preferring Erik ten Hag. The Rudiger story is basically Ralf Rangnick's recommendation, and I just want to say this here: all hope is not lost. I think that there is a theme that Ralf Rangnick has not been listened to. He's not been consulted on the manager. He's not been consulted on transfers. He was ignored in January, and basically he's on his arse in the summer, and they're going to get rid of him. That's one side of the story. Another side of the story is, and you can speak to Fabrizio about this and other people, is that he is involved in signings. He is being consulted on the manager, and he is part of the vision for Man United over the next couple of years. Maybe the truth is somewhere in between. Maybe he has been consulted on transfers, but not the manager. Maybe his future is undecided. But I really hope we utilise this man. Ralf Rangnick, again, I would say that the fans that knew about Rangnick and were excited about Rangnick back in November and December are the same fans that are excited about Erik ten Hag, because they know football. They know the footballing landscape and they know what people have done. Ralf Rangnick is the godfather of a certain brand of football that Jurgen Klopp, Nagelsmann, Tuchel and many others have evolutionised. He's also a man that's rebuilt football clubs. We need this. We need to listen to this man, 100%. And I believe Rudiger is definitely a player that Ralf Rangnick is advising us to go for. But Rudiger is, to me, one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League over the last 18 months. I think he's been absolutely amazing. If we could get hold of him, that would be an amazing signing. He's free in the summer. Now, he might end up signing a new deal at Chelsea if they get their new owners sorted out, but he's free in the summer. And if he fancies staying in the Premier League, that would be a really significant signing for Manchester United. And this is Ralf Rangnick advising the club that this is the player to go for. So, but we're not going to get him if we don't get the manager sorted. And Rudiger would work with Erik ten Hag, and to be fair, I think he'd work with Pochettino as well. Do you think Erik ten Hag will make this team high pressing and be able to dictate his style of play, even if Rangnick wasn't able to with these players, says Krish? I think that's a great point, Krish, but I've almost answered it. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 likes. Basically, if you know anything about fitness and conditioning, what players do from the start of July until the start of the season is they do a lot of ball work, but they do a lot of conditioning work. And such is conditioning and fitness and conditioning now, is that your specialist fitness team can train a team in a way that they suit a certain style of football. And United's blueprint for this season was counter-attacking football, ollie ball, whatever you want to call it. Very, 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 very difficult. Going to lead to a lot of injuries and almost impossible to implement a total. And that's just fitness and conditioning. Let's not forget tactics. To get a team that's used to counter-attacking to go and play like Pep Guardiola when you're playing 3 games a week and it's halfway through the season, virtually impossible. You can't do it. I think Rangnick tried to do it. You can't do it. Of course, Ten Hag will be able to get us to do that, because he will have, from the start of July to the start of the season, from day one, to drill into these players. This is the fitness you need. This is the way we're going to play football. There'll be teething problems. Of course there will, as they get used to it. Pep's Man City didn't play like they did 3 years later in their first 3 months. It will take time, but you need a pre-season to do it. And Conte struggled with Spurs, to be fair. They've had good results and bad results. It's very difficult to take a team on any point in the season and change direction consistently. Don't you think there's a parallel between Sir Alex and Ten Hag, both coached at small clubs compared before coming to United, says Oz? I think that is a great point, and I think a lot of people are at pains to sort of predict that Sir Alex Ferguson wants Pochettino. As I've said before, I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson should be listened to exclusively anyway. I think we need to look to the future in a different way. But I would hope that Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't have a preference, because ultimately, you're right. Sir Alex Ferguson did a great job with Aberdeen in Scotland, and Scottish football at that time was a lot better than it is now. But Erik ten Hag's not that different to Sir Alex Ferguson in relation to where he's coming from and what he offers as a step up as somebody who's not managed in the top league before, the Premier League. So yeah, I would hope that he would, but I can't give you the names of who wants what. I think it's well established what players are pushing for Pochettino, and there's 4 of them, and they're quite senior players at the club. But beyond that, it's very difficult to predict. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter if 99% of the team wanted Pochettino. If I was in charge of that football club and they're all knocking on the door saying we want Poch, you know what I'd say? Well, you should have delivered this season, and then we wouldn't be having this conversation. Do you think I trust you lot to tell me who I should appoint as manager? Look at where we are in the league. Look at all the tournaments we're out. Look at all your bad performances this season. Why do you get a say in who the next manager is going to be? You've foregone that chance. The season you've put in, I ain't listening to any of you. You need a reset. You need a kick up the arse. And this decision is not going to be dictated to by you lot. Goodbye. And I wouldn't listen to one player. Not even Ronaldo. I wouldn't listen to them. I'd be like, I don't care. With all due respect, Cristiano, you are the GOAT. Can you sign this T-shirt for Seb? But the reality is, you're not going to be here in 3 years' time. I've got to build a club for the next 5 years, and I'm not interested in what the players say, because ultimately, if you don't like it, you know where the door is. This is the right decision for this football club. Simple as that. Simple as that. Anywho, I better get off because I've got to get onto TUSFC Twitch. It's the first round of the quarter. It's not the quarterfinals, is it? It's the knockout stage of the Champions League. I'm not in good form. Tune in, TUSFC. Links in the video description for Twitch, Goldbridge TV. I'll be live there at 3. Big afternoon. Also, please do check out my Goldbridge Cooks Chicken Parmo. I've dropped the link in the description for you as well for that. It's well worth a watch. I'd love to see your feedback on it. Take care, everyone. Smash a like. Interesting times for United. Let's hope they make the right decision. I don't know what I'm going to do if they don't. And 8 o'clock tonight. It's more of a Q&A tonight. 8 o'clock show tonight. Make sure you tune in. Friday night Q&A. So we'll see you for that. Looking forward to it. Join me on Twitch if you want to. Check out the Cooking with Goldbridge, please. Thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit. We go. Thunderdome. TUSFC Ultras. Let's go. Let's